I am totally inspired by what Ted shared and the excitement of the options we all have in our lives and what you can do with your career and how much you have to look forward to. Ted asked me to share what I've done with my career with you. Does that sound okay? After college, I was restless and young and wanted to start my own business. And I'm artistic, so I started a business designing jewelry. And I showed up, I made some designs and I showed up at some stores and they kind of were snobby and not nice to me, and it was hard selling the jewelry. And I don't consider myself at all a natural salesperson. I just kept knocking on new doors. One door shuts, the other one opens. And I started getting some leads. And then some stores started putting my jewelry on commission. So I'd get paid if they sold. That was okay, I was just starting out. I started talking to some women's magazines, Glamour, Mademoiselle, and so on, and New York Magazine. And they were really interested in my jewelry. And then I started talking to Henry Bendel and Saks Fifth Avenue, and they were interested. And then I sort of kind of made that all come together and got my jewelry on the cover of Glamour magazine, got into Henry Bendel's, got into New York Magazine Best Bets, got into Saks Fifth Avenue, then sold to Nordstrom's, then sold to I. Magnin in California, and so on and so on. And I had myself a business, and it was really cool. However, I will tell you, I landed, it was like from Mars. I didn't have a plan for my career at that point, and I just sort of started doing this. It was extremely fun, and I was doing everything. I was making the necklaces and the earrings. I was selling to the major retailers. I was my own publicist, going after this press and getting lots and lots of press. So where am I going with this? This isn't even in the article. This is pre all my corporate stuff. I thought, there's something about this running my own business that is so exciting, that I love. Back then, the Macintosh computer was young. It had just come out and it was exciting. I taught myself, I started training other people, I started getting corporate gigs. And I put the jewelry aside. I was still getting orders, and I just said, you know what? I really wasn't sure where I was going with this. I just put it aside. I wanted to try something new. I was still young and full of ideas, and well, I think I still have ideas, okay. Not as young, but. So I wanted to try something else. So I started consulting, and I started teaching people desktop publishing, which back then was a new thing. And it was fun and exciting. I loved having clients. And then one day, one of my clients offered me a full-time job. Back then they didn't have career coaches and all that. And I thought, well, I kind of like it here. I like the people, they're very smart. I enjoy what I'm doing. It was a marketing position. I'd be a marketing manager at Citibank. That's interesting. I love marketing. So I thought, okay, I guess I could then not have any other clients and it'll just be me and Citibank. Well, I stayed there for 6 years, and then I jumped over to JP Morgan, worked my way up the ladder, became a vice president. At some point in that continuum, I realized I was very tired a lot. There were meeting after meeting after meeting. And I would work very late hours. Now, I really worked late hours as an entrepreneur, believe me. But there was something about working hours after hours, and often midnight. I had a dog. One time I brought my dog to work because I had to pull an all-nighter. I mean, it was that kind of place. They gave us the Myers-Briggs type indicator, a personality assessment. Has anyone heard of that? Okay. It's often used by human resources departments, and it measures, it shows you aspects of your personality. So I learned, somewhat to my surprise, that I'm an introvert. what that meant was I'm not shy. Hey, I'm up here, right? I'm not shy. But I gain my energy. I gain my strength from my quiet time versus from my social time. I can work a room in a cocktail party. I can be very social. However, as an introvert, I go home and I read a book. That's my downtime. If you're an extrovert, you're going to the after party. What percentage of the population is introverts? Any idea? You got it, ding ding, 50%, almost exactly 50%. Despite the stigma in our society around introverts and being an introvert, because I think it's often associated with being a loner or a loser, or there's something wrong with you, you're antisocial, you don't like people. It's not true. It just means you get recharged by these quiet activities, listening, reading, writing, things that we tend to do alone, and we also love one-on-one connections, building relationships one-on-one, as opposed to meeting after meeting after meeting with no time to recharge. And that's what I found in the corporate world. There are a lot of meetings. So I was exhausted, and I realized I needed a time out from my corporate life. And during that leave, I reflected on what I really enjoy. Now, I enjoyed my job, but I reflected even deeper on my life and my career and what I want to do with myself next. I had planned on going back. I thought maybe I'll do some sort of different thing, or I wasn't sure. The first few months, I just slept. I was completely dead exhausted. What I realized when I woke up was the work I was doing as a volunteer, helping people at a place in Manhattan called the International Center. I was working on Saturdays as a volunteer, teaching business communication skills, coaching people one-on-one, teaching classes, and it hit me, wait a second, I'm happy to do this as a volunteer, but I could do this for money. I could create my next business. So I did something completely bonkers at the time. I left my job. I called my boss and I said, thanks, it's been great, but I have to go now. So I started teaching a class called Self-Promotion for Introverts. And I started teaching it at the 92nd Street Y. I started teaching it at NYU and elsewhere. I got contacted by a bunch of literary agents and a major publisher, and I guess they just loved the title, because I don't know if they knew anything about the content. And one of the agents in one of the major publishing houses, they sent people and came to my classes, and they said, you have to write a book. I said, okay, I'm going to tackle this demon, and I'm going to write a book. So I wrote the book. It came out in October. McGraw-Hill is my publishing house. I talk about the elevator pitch. I'm sure you've all heard of an elevator pitch. And as an entrepreneur, it's so important to have one of these, because you're going in, you're looking for investors, let's say, or you're just at a cocktail party and people need to know what you do. It's so important. What I'd like to encourage you to do right now is either take out a business card, or if you don't have a business card, a scrap of paper, and write down, just make it 6 words, make it 12 words, something about who you are and what you aspire to. And make it punchy, make it quick, make it fun. It's learning how to use your strengths as an introvert to get ahead and get what you want, meet your dreams and your career. And I've also heard from a lot of extroverts that it helps them because it's a gentler approach to promoting yourself. So that's my story.